At Carl's Place, our golf simulator enclosures are designed to be user-friendly and easy to assemble. In this video, we will walk you through the setup process for our Pro Enclosure Kit, as well as provide you with some tips and tricks that help along the way. You'll want to start by organizing your kit by size and shape. Your Pro Kit will include 2-inch steel fittings, a black knit fabric ceiling panel and 2 wall panels, an impact screen, cable receivers, ball bungees, and zip ties. Optional add-ons for the kit include projector or electronic mounts, all required EMT frame tubing, foam inserts, vinyl ceiling baffles, and a back cover kit. If you purchased a back cover kit, you'll receive additional fittings, pipes, and instructions to complete that assembly. If you purchased your Pro Kit without the optional pipe framing included, you'll need to purchase the EMT from a local hardware store and cut it to size. Detailed assembly instructions are also included to help guide you step by step in the assembly process. Make sure to have your tools handy. You'll need at least one 6mm hex key or bit, a measuring tape, a rubber mallet, pliers, and 2 8-foot tall step ladders. Once you have your workspace prepped, it's time to assemble your frame. Be sure to reference your specific frame assembly sheet included with your kit that details the dimensions to the specific sized kit that you ordered. Before you start assembling the frame, make sure that your fitting screws are loose so that you can insert the EMT pipes without interference. Begin assembling your frame by connecting any of the C fittings or straight fittings to the appropriate EMT pipes marked on your cut sheet. Take note that the pipe is inserted all the way into the fittings. Tighten the fittings to the EMT using a 6mm hex bit. Start by building the frame from the floor up. Take one of your assembled width pipes and 2 of your depth pipes and lay them out in a U shape on the floor. Your 2 included L fittings will be assembled at the front of the enclosure with the cable fittings at the rear. Next, insert the EMT pipes for your height. Put the 3-way connection fittings with the nub on the top of each rear height pipe with the nub facing the rear of the enclosure. When assembling the top half of the frame, it's important to work from the back of the enclosure to the front. Point the bolts on all C fittings to face toward the rear of the enclosure. Double check that all fitting screws are tightened down, and complete the frame assembly by measuring the frame to make sure that all dimensions match the dimensions specified in your diagram. The next step is to attach your ceiling panel. If your enclosure design includes a ceiling crossbar, you will have 2 ceiling panels marked with yellow and green ribbons. If your enclosure design does not include a crossbar, you will have a single ceiling panel marked with a yellow ribbon. In a similar fashion to the EMT pipes, work from the back to the front when installing more than one ceiling panel by installing the panel marked with a green ribbon first. If your enclosure design does not include a crossbar, orient the ceiling panel with a yellow ribbon so that the front flap faces towards the front of the enclosure and faces down towards the floor. Working diagonally from each corner, attach the corners of the ceiling panel to the frame using the included ball bungee cords. Use 2 bungees in each corner grommet. Insert the loop end of the bungee into the grommet, threading it through until the ball stops it. Wrap the cord loop around the frame tubing and hook it over the ball to create a loop. Once the 4 corners are attached and the panel is centered, use zip ties to gently secure the rest of the grommets to the frame. Tighten only enough to keep the ceiling panel with even spacing along the pipe frame. Make sure to check and adjust the spacing between the panel and frame so that all spacing is even on all sides. Tighten or loosen the zip ties wherever the panel spacing seems to deviate from being evenly spaced. Finish by attaching the front panel flap to the hook and loop strip on top of the enclosure. For a more professional look, rotate the head of the zip tie to the back of the top of the enclosure, or cut the tails off the zip ties once you are finished with the installation. If you purchased optional vinyl baffles, now is the time to install them. Insert a bungee through the loop of cord on the baffle and attach the bungee around the frame. Hang the baffles with the mat side facing the front of the enclosure and stretch them to the top of the frame using 1 bungee on each side. Zip ties can be used instead to apply extra tension if needed. Baffles can be spaced at any preferred distance away from the screen, but typically are most effective 1 to 1.5 feet apart. Now it's time to attach the wall panels. To attach the wall panels, uninstall the L fittings at the bottom front of the frame in order to thread the bottom pipe and vertical pipe through the fabric sleeves of the wall panel. The panels should be oriented so that the grommeted edge faces the rear of the enclosure. The edge with the grommets and flaps will be at the top of the enclosure. The left wall panel is marked with a blue ribbon, and the right panel is marked with a red ribbon. Start by sliding the bottom sleeve onto the bottom pipe. Then, slide the front sleeved edge of the wall panel upward onto the front vertical pipe. When sliding on the sleeved edges, check for burrs. Be careful not to rip the material on any sharp ends of the pipes. Once the panel sleeve is over both the bottom and front pipes, reinstall the L fitting and attach the hook and loop that wraps around it. Next, work on attaching the corners to the frame. Slide the front sleeve to the top of the frame and secure the front corner with one zip tie. Attach the back corner of the panel with the top of the frame using 2 bungees. Use zip ties to loosely secure the rest of the grommets on the wall panel to the pipe. Check the spacing and tighten or loosen the zip ties as needed to maintain a straight, even gap between the wall and the frame. Repeat this process to install the other wall panel. Next, attach the wall panel flaps. It's important to attach the flaps in this order. First, use the flaps attached to the upper inside of the wall panel to stretch and attach to the ceiling using the hook and loop fasteners, creating a 45-degree angle with the frame. Second, stretch and smooth down the corner flaps around the front corner of the frame. Finish by continuing to attach this flap to the top of the ceiling panel. Double-check the fit of the flaps and make any adjustments needed to smoothen out the material. Now it's time to attach your impact screen to the frame. Be careful unfolding your screen to keep it from touching the floor or becoming dirty. The front of the screen should be oriented with the Carl's Place logo at the top left of the enclosure. Using 2 ball bungees, attach each top corner of the screen to the enclosure frame. Now it's time to attach the bottom of the screen using the cable. On one of the rear corner fittings, locate the small hole at the base of the fitting. Insert the cable through the fitting and secure it with 4 turns of the cable receiver. Repeat on the other side. You may need to loosen the first receiver if you can't get the second receiver threaded. Tighten each end of the cable just until taut. Use pliers to hold the cable and prevent it from spinning while using a 3/16 hex key to tighten the receiver. Take care not to over-tighten. Secure the screen with zip ties in each grommet. Tighten only until taut, maintaining an even gap between the screen and the pipe. Make sure the 2 zip ties in the lowest corner grommets of the screen go under and around the bottom pipe, held in place by the exposed receiver end. These 2 bottom zip ties can be pulled tight while all others are barely taut. The bottom of the screen should be level with the floor and not pulling up in any areas. If there's any tension, loosen any taut zip ties on the top and sides of the screen to make any corrections. You can replace the top corner bungees with zip ties if you need less tension on the corners of the screen to get it to lay flush with the floor. Once the screen is hanging correctly, you can cut the zip tie tails for a cleaner look. If you did not purchase the optional foam inserts, continue the screen installation by attaching the screen flaps to the enclosure walls and ceiling with the hook and loop strips. If you purchase the optional foam inserts, you'll install those now. The longest 80-inch foam pieces will be installed at each bottom corner of the enclosure, with the shorter foam pieces on top reaching the ceiling. Install the foam with the narrow edge against the frame and wrap the flap around the foam to secure it with the hook and loop strips. Use the remaining foam to fill in the top edge of the screen flaps. Review your work and reattach the hook and loop to smooth out any lines as necessary. At this point, you can install any additional add-ons to your existing enclosure setup. Adding turf to a hard floor is a great way to minimize bounce. You could also purchase a Carl's Place hitting mat to add to your enclosure. If the space where you're installing your enclosure has windows or ambient light coming from behind the screen, Carl's Place also offers a back cover kit, which preserves a crisp, bright image. See the install of the back cover here. Your setup is complete, and you could begin using your new Pro Golf Simulator enclosure. We recommend using new golf balls that are free from any scuffs or permanent marker to maximize the life of your screen and to keep it from marking up. We want to see your new golf setup. Go to www.carlavt.com/share with us to send us pics, videos, or reviews of your brag-worthy setup. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to shoot us an email, give us a call, or contact us on our website. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos on building, using, and enhancing your own golf simulator enclosure.